So again, we saw that Bitcoin dominance, and I believe, so I had Michael Saylor on the show in 2021 and 2020, I think. And he had actually watched our old interviews with Andreas Antonopoulos in 2015 and 17 and 19. We had probably some of the few really in-depth, close interviews like in that chair where you could go inside his mind, whereas usually it would just be him presenting at a conference. And Michael has told me he watched all those when he did his deep dive in 2020. And I remember at one point he said, Brian, I like Bitcoin because it has low aspirations. He's like, it's not trying to do anything fancy. And that was the right asset for him to acquire because he could stay out of the way of the SEC, during the dark ages of the Biden administration. And I think obviously it was the first ETF and then the first one for other institutions to embrace, like BlackRock, and then the first one for other treasury companies to embrace, like Metaplanet. I actually met Dylan at the Satoshi Roundtable a year and a half ago before he went off to Japan to do that, or Metaplanet. And so I think what we saw, maybe that dominant spike was maybe a hangover from that period, but obviously things have changed. Ethereum now, I mean, these companies have huge chunks of it. They own more Ethereum than Ethereum Foundation now, with Joseph's company, and then these other two are coming up fast behind it. I guess what's next is the Solanas and the Trons, potentially. I guess two questions I want to ask you. First of all, what other layer ones do you have your eye on? I interviewed Kostas Crypto from Sui when I was in Dubai recently, and he's one of their lead developer guys. Very impressive what they're building there. There's obviously Justin, son of Tron, who's really owning that whole Asian audience in a way that only Justin can. And he uses media really well. He knows how to ride the headlines, whether it's buying $70 million pieces of art or showing up to the Trump coin thing, or buying huge chunks of World Liberty Financial, the Trump DeFi thing. So there's that. I'm curious what you think of those other layer ones. Will they become factors? And then I want to ask you about what everyone's predicting is that treasury company defaults are going to make the crash in 26. It's going to be the FTX moment when we do have a bear market. So there's a bunch of questions. Maybe we'll start by any of the blockchains that you have your eye on. Obviously, Solana has a lot of transactions per second. The criticism is it's been down.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside I view is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
And in the past, there's the trilemma and the quadrilemmas and all those things.
Yeah. No, I mean, I try to keep an eye out as best as I can. Sui is definitely, and my buddy Ollie is a big guy in Sui and everything. And I think, because it's object oriented, right? They have a totally different approach. And so you can do some interesting things there. They've got a great community and so on. What I'm looking for, and of course Solana I think is going to keep doing what it's doing. My introduction to Solana was through Streamflow, which is kind of like this big Solana app where you can lock tokens and manage the tokens and so on. And so I think continuing to move towards giving that incredible user experience that's very fast on the L1 and cheap. And now their whole meme is internet capital markets. Moving in that direction, I think, is really interesting for them. And then, of course, looking at all the meme coin stuff, Bonk Fund seems to be flipping Pump Fund, and I think Jupe is also, they have their own launch pad. And so that speculative element will continue because I forgot who said this, but maybe Ansem said this. I met a really nice guy, tall guy. He said Solana meme coins are better odds than buying lottery tickets. Right, you're gonna lose most of the time, but once in a while you hit. And so that speculative element, I'm not embracing. I mean, it's not my thing, but it exists. and it's going to continue.
Almost the reason capital markets exist across the board.
Well, that's the dirty little secret no one wants to talk about. Exactly. Just, capital markets can be a little bit more sophisticated, but it's still putting lipstick on a pig. But in terms of L1s, what I'm really looking for now is innovation. So there's two in particular, and one of them is called Pangea. And what these guys are doing is basically making data, rich contextual data, accessible, where instead of relying on RPC providers and basically providing data that's usable so that developers have a tremendous experience is quite centralized, making that the network. So the nodes in the network serve up data, so distributing in this way I think is quite an interesting innovation. And then I also really like Noble Assets, which is a stable chain basically, like Plasma, but they focus on composable yield. So how do you actually get yield just by holding the stablecoin? I think like pipping, these stablecoin issuers by offering yield to the user is very compelling. And then how do you compose the yield into the stablecoin with different strategies and so on? So I think those kinds of innovations, really specifically data and stablecoins. There's another great data company called Liss as well, and they're focused on Solana, but making the data available in a decentralized way, I think is the next big innovation in blockchains, frankly. It's kind of like data availability was a big thing with Celestia and so on, but the actual data, making it usable and accessible, is where I think the L1 ecosystem will go next. So I'm very curious to see how that sort of develops.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.